Hello everyone, welcome back to Pro Wrestling Planet. Your excellent host of the brand here, and we're getting very close to that exit sign and finding out who the most scariest wrestler of all time is. Many names have come and gone. We've got 30 names left. We'll cover the next 10 names in this video. You can find the other videos in the countdown by subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. Let's go ahead and get on with it. Number 30, Baron von Raski. Born James Raski in 1940, he began wrestling in 1966. This guy worked pretty much everywhere over the course of his career. More modern fans will probably remember him from his late days in his career in the AWA, and what made him scary was his voice, his overall presentation, and not to forget, the claw. Tactic still used by many parents to this day. Number 29, Relic. Jonathan Hugger was born in 1977. That is his real name, by the way, Hugger. He started wrestling in 1999. He's probably more famously known as Johnny the Bull Stamboli. There was a brief period of time in TNA wrestling where he was someone called Relic, which is killer spelled backwards. Get it? Gotta be one of the scariest, freaky looking wrestlers of all time. The presentation was good. Problem was it was just so TNA. Johnny the Bull had his last match in 2014, so he's been retired for over 10 years now. Number 28, Black Rain. We talked about Dustin Runnels earlier on this countdown as Gold Dust and also as Seven. Either way, this was a gimmick he used for a very brief period of time in TNA wrestling. Scary face paint, check. Huge pet rat, check. Although it was brief, still made an impact. See what I did there? And created a ton of nightmares. Man, I would really like to hear a Dustin Runnels book sometime, because some of the things that have came from the mind of that guy are just fascinating. Number 27, Dink The Clown. This character was originally played by Matt Bourne, then they transitioned it off to Fabulous One Steve Kern. This induction will center around Matt Bourne specifically, as his twisted version of Dink The Clown is the one that deserves to be on this list, and not the cheesy PG version of his gimmick that was done by Kern. Bourne would also further experiment with the gimmick a little bit in ECW and beyond after his WWE time was up. This guy's got a whole Dark Side of the Ring episode dedicated to him, so that's also pretty scary. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who love clowns and those who don't. My wife hates them. You do the math. Number 26, Terry Funk. I mean, at this point, I don't think you can even call yourself a wrestling fan unless you know who Terry Funk is. This will be kind of a controversial choice on the list, because this isn't your traditional scary person. This isn't someone out there with face paint or a mask. This is just someone who legitimately displayed craziness throughout his whole career. He wrestled everywhere and was unpredictable while doing so. You never knew what he was gonna do. Heck, he might even come at you with his Texas branding iron at full force. I mean, it's Terry Funk. Enough said. Number 25, New Jack. New Jack was born Jerome Young in 1963. He began wrestling in 1992, and for a while he was a normal enough wrestler. Somewhere along the way, he turned into one of the gangstas, and over time developed an unpredictable persona. Most famous for his time in ECW, New Jack would run to the ring brandishing a trash can full of weapons. You just never knew what these weapons were going to be. Could be a stapler, could be a fork, could be a keyboard. So many random things were used. Just imagine standing across the ring from this guy. And infamous stories surround his legend. Stories like the mass transit incident, where a 17-year-old kid lied about his age and ended up in a wrestling match with New Jack, where New Jack proceeded to cut the ever-living daylights out of his face. You never really knew what you were getting into with New Jack. Just ask Vic Grimes times. Sadly, we lost him in 2021 at age 58. Number 24, Cactus Jack. Mick Foley was so good at being scary and is so legendary that he gets a couple different spots on this list. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Foley developed this Cactus Jack persona. For a while there, the full name was Cactus Jack Manson. So that ought to tell you something. For starters, Cactus Jack would do crazier and crazier things, all kinds of things to invoke pain on himself and others, synonymous with the King of the Deathmatch tournament, and even a more tamed down version of the gimmick appeared in the WWE throughout the years, but it's still just crazy enough. And I mean, just take a look at this guy. He wasn't like the other kids. Number 23, Demon Finn Balor. Fergal Devitt was born in 1981. He started wrestling in around 2001. First started going to Japan in around 2006, which is where he would really make a name for himself, and it's where this gimmick first was basically created while he was still under his Prince Devitt name. For larger matches, Devitt would paint himself up in this demon-like character, and when he signed to WWE, this was a tradition he continued, albeit under this different name, Finn Balor. It's really weird to think that now he's been Finn Balor for basically longer than he ever was Prince Devitt. Seems like a distant memory. Balor will bring this persona out for special big matches, and deservedly so. Scary face paint, check. Scary headdress, check. Scary dance moves, check. I mean, what else do you need? Number 22, Abyss. Born Christopher Park in 1973, you can trace the beginning of his career all the way back to the year 1995. Did a lot of indie stuff, and then he ended up in IWA Puerto Rico and sometime around 2002, and was pretty much there from day one at the startup of TNA Wrestling. This is going all the way back to the Asylum days. A huge, scary monster that we wouldn't hear talk for a very long time. It's a simple formula, really. Be huge and scary, don't talk, destroy people. That's pretty much the How to Be a Scary Wrestler handbook right there. They would do the Abyss gimmick for quite a while, but they would also have him bounce out of that and be a different character named Joseph Park. I was never a huge fan of this stuff, be that as it may. Abyss deserves to be here, as he held it down for monsters. It was probably the scariest, most intimidating wrestler as far as menacing abilities go that wasn't on the WWE roster throughout the 2000s. He had his last match at this point in 2019, so many would say retired. He's currently working as an agent in WWE. Fun fact, little trivia for you there. Number 21, Killer Kowalski. You know, one thing I'll admit about putting this list together is that maybe, just maybe, we could have dug a little bit deeper into history. I tried to represent at least a few historical wrestling figures on here. Be that as it may, here's Killer Kowalski. Born Edward Spolnick in 1926, he became a wrestler in 1947. We're talking this guy wrestled for 38 years before I was even born. He was intimidating and scary because of his look, and also mainly because of his in-ring style. Hence the name Killer. And back in those days, if you earned the nickname Killer, I think it would be something that should be taken pretty seriously. His first retirement was in 1977, started a wrestling school, trained some pretty famous wrestlers that would come up over the years. You may have heard of some people like Triple H, Chyna, Big John Studd, Tommaso Ciampa, and this is just scratching the surface. We lost Kowalski in the year of 2008 at age 81. Only 20 more to go, folks. It'll be over before you know it, and then what? Then what are we gonna do? I guess this would be a good video to ask what you watchers out there would like to see as far as top 100 lists. You have any ideas? Let me know down in the comments. But make sure you're here with us while we finish the countdown. There'll only be 2 more videos left. We only have 20 more names to go. The scariest of the scariest are on their way. Please join us by subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss anything. Also, please leave a like on your way out. We'll see you next time right here on Pro Wrestling Planet.